I live, but I am no longer myself. I laugh when I'm in pain, cry when there are no tears, and sometimes call myself by a strange name. He remains by my side, gentle and forgiving, yet his gaze is fixed on someone who is dead. I understand now, he loves the soul within me, not me, and I am merely the vessel chosen to keep his love alive forever. My best friend May gave me a blue bracelet she had braided herself for my birthday. I posted it on social media and received many well wishes. But mixed in with them was one particularly jarring comment. He wrote, "Your bracelet is braided with the hair of the dead. Throw it away." His words angered me so much I actually laughed. This hair belongs to May and me. Are you cursing us to die? I clicked on his profile, only to find it was a newly registered account with no personal information. Just as I was about to block him, he sent me a private message. "Don't believe me? Try touching the hair on top. Isn't it a bit greasy? And if you smell closely, there's a foul odor." I touched it. Indeed, it felt a little greasy, like hair that hadn't been washed in a long time. I wondered if it was my imagination, but my fingers felt slightly sticky too. I leaned down to smell it, and there truly was a foul odor. A chill ran down my spine. As I stood stunned, my phone suddenly vibrated with a new message. Someone kind-heartedly warned me, "Girl, don't believe him. It's clearly a fake account. Download an anti-scam app immediately." Eradicating scammers is everyone's responsibility. I sighed in relief, but the foul smell in the air grew increasingly distinct. Following the stench, I walked to the kitchen and discovered the fish May had sent me a few days ago, forgotten outside the fridge. If that scammer hadn't prompted me, who knows how much longer it would have sat there. I tossed the smelly fish into the trash. When I turned back, I saw another message from that account. "Believe it or not, it's up to you. If I'm not mistaken, your best friend May probably invited you back to her hometown recently, right?" Just as I was about to deny it, May sent a message. "My dear, didn't you say you wanted to visit my village fair in my hometown? It's in 2 days, do you want to come?" Although I didn't believe the scammer's fabrications, I couldn't help but feel a chill at the coincidence. I opened May's chat window, hesitated for a long time, then typed, "Next time, I'm a bit busy lately and can't make the time." May replied almost instantly. She said, "Oh, really? Well, that's a shame then." I breathed a sigh of relief, but very quickly, she sent another message. "Too bad, this village fair only happens once every 3 years. If it's not super important work, put it aside and come relax. It's been so long since we last met, I miss you terribly." May and I became friends in college. She came from a remote mountainous region. Our other roommates scoffed at her country bumpkin ways and didn't want to hang out with her. Only I couldn't bear to see her isolated. So, whether it was eating or going to class, I was always by her side. Gradually, our relationship grew closer. After graduation, she returned to her hometown to become a teacher, while I stayed here to work for a foreign company. It had been almost 3 years since we last saw each other. I scrolled through our chat history, filled with her caring messages and advice for me. Could someone I'd known for 7 years really harm me? I couldn't help but feel a bit disgusted with myself, questioning my longtime best friend because of a complete stranger. Meng Yao, you're truly getting senile as you get older." At this thought, I no longer hesitated and immediately replied to May's message. "Okay, I'll arrange my work a bit, and I'll be there in 2 days." After confirming the time with May, I opened social media again and saw that the stranger had continued to send me messages. "Hello, may I presume to ask, does your best friend May still have a deceased older brother in her family? If I'm not mistaken, inside the bracelet May gave you, there's also hair from her brother. That hair has been soaked in the accumulated oil from a corpse, containing the yin energy of the deceased. She wants to arrange a ghost marriage for you, so you can be buried with her brother." I stared at my phone screen. How did he know? Indeed, May did have an older brother, but during our college years, he died in an accident. May had grieved for a long time then. Her family was patriarchal, favoring sons over daughters. When her parents were expecting, they thought she would be a boy, but unexpectedly, a baby girl was born. Their conservative, rotten, and backward thinking almost led them to drown her in a bucket of water. Fortunately, her brother returned from school in time to save her. Even her college expenses were paid for by her brother working. Their sibling relationship was very strong. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say May was raised single-handedly by her brother. Moreover, as far as I knew, her brother was indeed single when he died, never married, and certainly never had a girlfriend. A chill crept over me. Just as I was about to question him further, I realized his account had been locked due to a violation report. But aside from this social media platform, I had no other way to contact him. I lay on my bed, restless and uneasy. I replayed in my mind all the moments May and I had shared. Although we hadn't met in person since graduating college, we chatted every day, making it feel as if we had never been apart. Could she really do something so insane? Was that person just spouting nonsense, or? I kept thinking and thinking until I drifted off to sleep. I woke with a jolt in the middle of the night. The moment I opened my eyes, I suddenly realized there was someone else in the room. No lights were on, only the faint moonlight filtered in. That person, dressed in a black robe with yellow floral trim, was sitting beside my bed, their hand slipping under the hem of my nightgown and moving inward. That hand, icy cold to the bone, touched my stomach and slowly moved upwards. I flinched, instinctively snatching my hand away from him. I pulled my blanket tight around me, retreating into the corner of the wall, and stammered, "Why you? Don't come any closer. If you want money, I can tell you the password. Don't hurt me, or I swear I'll risk my life to drag you down with me." Suddenly, the person moved closer to me. His eyes were pitch black, as if devoid of whites, and then a strong, fishy stench enveloped me, making me gag several times. I don't know where I found the strength, but I pushed him away and in the same motion, switched on the light. The ceiling lamp illuminating the room made me feel a little safer. I looked up at the person, but he had vanished into thin air. Only the strong, fishy smell lingered, reminding me that someone had indeed been in the room just moments ago. After what had just happened, I couldn't possibly fall asleep again, so I picked up my phone to scroll through videos. Accidentally, I swiped and tapped into a live stream about occult practices, where only a dozen or so people were watching. The streamer was divining to help a follower find their lost earphones. "You changed your bedsheets a few days ago, didn't you? It's right at the edge of the bedsheet. You'll find it there tomorrow morning." This voice sounded incredibly familiar, the tone and cadence identical to the owner of the mysterious social media account from earlier. I listened to the voice message he had sent me earlier that afternoon, and indeed, it was the same person. I quickly returned to the live stream room and sent a desperate plea in the comment section. After seeing my comment, he paused for a moment and then said, "The fact that you can watch my live stream proves that we are destined. If that's the case, send me a connection request, and I will help you resolve this matter." Without hesitation, I immediately chose to connect with him. He asked, "Meng Yao, your best friend May's brother, passed away 5 years ago, didn't he?" "Yes. In our 3rd year of college, May and her brother went out. To protect her, her brother was struck by a falling billboard and died instantly. After his death, May lived with immense self-reproach and torment. It was I who stayed by her side, advising and comforting her, that helped her slowly escape that psychological shadow." My answer caused the live stream room to buzz, but the streamer, named Shenlingxi, showed no surprise. He asked, "Was the body cremated back then?" "No. May told me that in her hometown they highly value burial, considering cremation disrespectful to the deceased. Someone who died prematurely like her brother wouldn't receive ancestral worship or even be buried in the family tomb. So, after her brother's death, her parents hastily buried the body that very night. As for where it was buried, no one knew except them." "How long have you been wearing this bracelet?" I thought carefully. Because May's hometown was very far, delivery time couldn't be guaranteed, so she sent it to me a month in advance. When the gift reached me, it was still some time before my birthday. Although the bracelet wasn't expensive, it was filled with her sincere affection, so that evening, I wore it immediately and even posted it online as a keepsake. After a moment's thought, I answered in a low voice, counting today almost 20 days. Hearing this, Shenlingxi's expression brightened considerably. "Good, there's still time. Here's what we'll do, give me your address, and I'll go with you to your best friend's hometown." On the day we left, Shenlingxi was already waiting outside my house early in the morning. We went to the train station together. It took over 10 hours on the train to reach May's home. As soon as I stepped off the vehicle, I saw her figure standing at the exit gate. 3 years without seeing each other, and she was still just, as I remembered, thin and small. She waved at me, and I excitedly ran to embrace her tightly. After we let go, she looked at Shenlingxi, who was standing beside me with a puzzled expression, and asked, "Meng Yao, who is this next to you?" I took Shenlingxi's hand, shook it playfully in front of her, and said with a shy smile, This is my new boyfriend, Shen Lingxi. I don't know if it was my prior suspicions influencing me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that after hearing Shen Lingxi was my boyfriend, her complexion turned very unpleasant. Meng Yao, when did you get a boyfriend? Why have you never mentioned it? Just recently. I've been so busy lately, I haven't had a chance to tell you. But aren't I introducing him to you now? You have to give him a proper evaluation for me, okay? Mei replied with a laugh, pulling us into an old, dilapidated small truck. Mei said, my parents insisted I stay at their house when they heard I was coming, saying they wanted to thank me for always looking after her when we were in school. When I got into the truck, I saw several people already sitting inside. Because of the hot weather, the smell of sweat mixed with gasoline was so pungent it made me uncomfortable. Seeing this, Mei took a mint candy from her pocket and offered it to me. I couldn't help but feel touched. I didn't expect her to still remember this small habit of mine. After sucking on the mint, my stomach no longer felt as queasy as before. We struggled on the road for about half an hour, and as dusk approached, we finally arrived at her house. Only after getting out of the car did I learn that Mei's parents, having heard of my arrival today, had already prepared a table full of food, waiting for us to eat as soon as we arrived. At the dinner table, Mei's parents kept piling food onto my plate, urging me to eat more. I couldn't refuse and could only comply. I picked up a piece of rib. Just as my chopsticks brought it to my mouth, Shen Lingxi unexpectedly nudged my elbow, causing both my chopsticks and the rib to fall to the floor. I bent down to pick them up, but then I saw Shen Lingxi's phone screen under the table, displaying 2 words: don't eat. The food contains the ashes of her brother. If you eat it, you will truly die. I froze. The chopsticks I had just picked up fell again. My friend's brother's ashes. A wave of nausea surged within me, and my hand holding the chopsticks trembled violently. I couldn't help but gag. Meng Yao, are you okay? Mei suddenly appeared in front of me. I instinctively looked towards Shen Lingxi, realizing he had put his phone away. I sighed in relief, sat up straight, and smiled at Mei. I'm fine. Maybe I'm still a bit carsick, so I don't feel like eating much. I'll just skip dinner. No, you can't, Mei flatly refused. After calming down, she softly said, if you're carsick, not eating anything will only make your stomach feel worse. Come on, have something light. With that, she picked up a piece of green vegetable and brought it to my mouth. I glanced at Shen Lingxi, only to find him eating heartily. Could it be that only my asterisk food was problematic? Meng Yao eat. The lights in the house were on, and the dim light reflected the same old smile on Mei's face. She seemed genuinely concerned about my well-being, simply wanting me to eat something to feel better. I forced myself to swallow the piece of vegetable. There was no strange taste, but remembering Shen Lingxi's words, I didn't dare to savor it, quickly chewing a few times and swallowing. After I swallowed, Mei began to pick up another piece of greens for me. However, when she looked at my wrist, her expression immediately changed. Where's the bracelet I gave you? Didn't I tell you? There's a peace talisman inside that bracelet. You absolutely must wear it, okay? I instinctively touched my wrist. I was in such a hurry, I forgot to bring it. I hadn't forgotten it. I had burned that bracelet. That day, after the live stream, I told Shen Lingxi about the shadowy figure that appeared by my bed and then vanished into thin air. He said it was likely the ghost of Mei's brother, specifically coming to meet his future wife. Moreover, it was precisely because the bracelet contained her brother's yin energy that he could find me so easily. Terrified, I immediately threw the bracelet into the kitchen fire and burned it to ashes. I was afraid Mei's brother would come looking for me again. It's okay, I have another one here. Hurry, put it on. Mei took an identical bracelet from her pocket, then pulled my hand towards her, intending to put it on me. Her intensity frightened me, and I instinctively tried to pull my hand back. Across the table, Shen Lingxi shook his head at me, gesturing for me not to resist. While Mei's parents were distracted, he mouthed something and the words reached my ears. Listen to her, just put it on for now. Your friend seems unusual. She's dead. How can that be? I talk to her every day, we even shook hands and hugged just now. Her body feels warm, she stands in the light, and her laughter and conversation are just like when she was alive. How can a dead person be so vibrant? A moment later, Shen Lingxi whispered again, your best friend Mei is indeed dead. Her obsession is simply too deep. She constantly mourns her brother, so instead of entering reincarnation, she became a malevolent spirit. The one you've been talking to these past few days is not a person, but a fiend. My hands dropped under the table, trembling violently. Was the best friend sitting across from me truly dead? fragmented memories of college flashed through my mind. We had walked hand in hand through every corner of the campus, dreaming of our future, even promising to be each other's bridesmaids, witnessing each other's happiness. And now, she was gone so suddenly, and she even wanted to harm me. If this had happened 4 years ago, I wouldn't have believed it even if you beat me to death, but now the truth was laid bare before my eyes, and I couldn't help but believe. My best friend of 7 years truly wanted to kill me. Across the table, May was staring intently at me. I wondered if it was just psychological, but under the dim light, her face now seemed terrifyingly pale. I took a deep breath and let her take my hand and put the bracelet on. At this, her expression softened a little. Meng Yao, I only want what's best for you. Come on, have another bite. I truly couldn't eat another morsel. However, at this point, I dared not openly defy her, so I could only obediently swallow. I tried to suppress the urge to vomit as she continued to put food on my plate. Only then did May smile in satisfaction and put down her chopsticks. After dinner, while May and her parents went down to the kitchen, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I found a secluded spot, stuck my fingers down my throat, and vomited. I emptied my stomach completely. Turning around, I saw Shen Lingxi standing right behind me. I couldn't control myself any longer. I grabbed his collar and whispered, "What exactly do you know? How did May die? What is going on?" Shen Lingxi said nothing, standing there silently, letting me pour out all my anxieties. After a moment, I wiped the tears from my face and softly said, "I'm sorry about earlier, but this is the first time I've encountered something like this. I was so scared." He said, "I have a terrible suspicion right now. Your best friend may have been killed by her parents with the aim of bringing her brother back to life." "What?" I looked up at Shen Lingxi in astonishment, my face full of disbelief. But May had clearly told me that after her brother died, her parents' attitude towards her had improved greatly. It was precisely because she worried about her aging parents having no one to care for them that she decided to return home. Why would they kill her? "The jade pendant around her neck," Shen Lingxi said in a low voice. "If I'm not mistaken, the jade she's wearing is a death bead, placed in the mouth of a corpse. Its purpose is for her brother to borrow a body and return to life." I felt like my CPU had been fried. If May's parents had killed her to bring their son back to life, then why were they still trying to arrange a ghost marriage for me with her brother? Would 2 girls be accepted in this backward rural area? Perhaps Shen Lingxi had read my thoughts from my expression. He shook his head and said, "The ghost marriage with you is merely because the body has been buried underground. As for borrowing a body to return to life, it's so her brother can live again with a new identity." This meant that to bring their son back to life, they had to sacrifice 2 living girls, May and me. It was truly insane. But there was still one point I couldn't figure out. May had previously told me that the customs in her hometown did not allow for cremation. So where did the ashes mixed in the food come from? When I asked this, Shen Lingxi patted my head and chuckled. "I was just being cautious, just in case." I'm impressed. After easing the tension for a moment, Shen Lingxi's expression turned serious again. He said, "If nothing changes, May's parents will make their move tonight, so I must be extremely vigilant. I can help you with the ghost marriage, but the jade pendant around your friend's neck is the crucial key to helping her brother borrow a body and return to life." Shen Lingxi said, "I absolutely must get that jade pendant and destroy it before midnight tonight." May arranged for Shen Lingxi and me to stay in separate rooms. Although I was a little scared, this also gave me an opportunity to get the jade pendant. May was about to leave, but I pulled her back. I insisted she sleep with me tonight. There were still 2 hours until midnight. May and I lay together on the earthen bed, exchanging stories, reminiscing about the fun times in college. After a while, May beside me suddenly fell silent. I continued talking to myself for a few more sentences, then slowly opened my eyes. Using the faint light, I intently gazed at my best friend. In the room enveloped in darkness, the clear moonlight from outside the window pierced through a gap in the curtain, illuminating a corner of the room. I opened my eyes, allowing them to adjust to the dim light for a moment, and finally clearly saw May's face lying next to me. It was deathly pale. Her chest wasn't rising and falling at all. It was only then that I finally understood, or rather, I finally had to admit that my dearest best friend, she was dead. I took a deep breath, my trembling hand reaching out to remove the jade pendant from May's neck. The moment I touched it, an icy cold sensation immediately assaulted me, startling me and almost making me retract my hand. But as I thought of May's parents wanting to sacrifice both our lives to bring back their son, who had long since rotted beneath the earth, my heart instantly filled with fiery anger. I gritted my teeth and snatched the jade pendant from May's neck. I clutched the jade tightly in my hand, quietly observing May's reaction. After realizing she showed no signs of waking up, I tiptoed off the bed, preparing to go out and find Shen Lingxi. But just as my hand rested on the doorknob, May's faint voice suddenly sounded behind me. "Meng Yao, where are you going?" Startled and frightened, I didn't dare turn around. "I'm going to the bathroom. You go to sleep first, don't worry about me." A cold hand suddenly landed on the back of my hand. She grabbed my hand and pushed the door open. "The bathrooms in our countryside don't have lights, and aren't you afraid of the dark? I'll go with you." She walked ahead, leading the way. I pulled my hand back and said, "No need, I'll just find Shen Lingxi to go with me. You should go back to sleep." With that, I lowered my head and ran towards Shen Lingxi's room. As I passed May, I suddenly caught a very foul smell. That smell was hard to describe. If I had to, it was like the smell of a corpse, often depicted in TV dramas. I secretly ran to Shen Lingxi's room. Arriving there, I hurriedly closed the door, only to have it suddenly blocked by a hand. Pale, thin, with slightly raised blue veins on the back of the hand, and even faint mottled spots visible beneath the powder if you looked closely. She gripped the door frame tightly. "Aha!" I screamed and recoiled. May pushed the door open and stepped inside. She looked at me sadly and said, "Meng Yao, now that you have a boyfriend, you don't need me anymore?" I was speechless, only able to tremble and step back. My back suddenly hit a warm chest. An arm came out to comfort my shoulder. It was Shen Lingxi. I breathed a sigh of relief, the tension like a stretched rubber band suddenly snapping. At this moment, my entire body lost all strength, and I collapsed to the ground, panting. "May, ghosts and humans are different. No matter how good your relationship with Meng Yao was, you shouldn't cling to her anymore." Shen Lingxi's words were like a stark awakening. A rare emptiness suddenly appeared on May's face. She reached out, pointed at me, then pointed at herself and said, "You mean me? I'm dead." Shen Lingxi nodded gravely, and an eerie silence enveloped the room. I instinctively held my breath, not daring to make a sound, my eyes twitching, as if sensing that something was about to happen. The very next second, May suddenly clenched her own neck and screamed. Her eyes, which had once clearly distinguished black and white, seemed to be blurred by black ink, with no whites remaining. Blue veins bulged on her face, looking as if they could explode at any moment. Shen Lingxi pulled me back. "Be careful, she's about to turn into a malevolent spirit." I hid behind Shen Lingxi, my hands and feet tangled as I retreated, supporting myself on the ground. The hard object in my palms suddenly thumped against me. Only then did I remember the jade pendant from May's neck was still in my hand. I quickly handed the jade to Shen Lingxi. "If we just destroy this jade, will May be able to reincarnate normally?" Shen Lingxi nodded. Just as he was about to reach out and take the jade, May suddenly shrieked and lunged at him. Shen Lingxi stumbled and fell from the attack, and the jade clattered to the ground, shattering into tiny pieces. Shen Lingxi's expression immediately changed. He cried out, "It's broken!" But very quickly, Shen Lingxi no longer had time to worry about the jade pendant, because May had bitten his arm tightly, tearing off a piece of flesh. I thought of the scene in the movie Train to Busan Asterisk, where anyone bitten by a zombie becomes infected and turns into one. Perhaps May was not much different from a zombie now. To save Shen Lingxi, I could only choose to attack May. Searching frantically around the room, I finally grabbed the winnowing basket from the corner, raised it high, and brought it down hard on May's head. A sickening sound echoed, and some liquid splattered on my face, intensely foul-smelling. In my panic, I felt May turn her head to look at me, but she didn't attack me. Instead, she continued to pursue Shen Lingxi, as if wanting to drag him to his death with her. Shen Lingxi was right. May was no longer human. That winnowing basket, used in rural areas to sift grain and gather trash, had a very sharp outer edge for convenience. In my haste, I had struck May's head with all my might, tearing open half of her face, yet she seemed completely unfazed. Shen Lingxi was being chased around the room by May. I stood rooted to the spot, holding the winnowing basket, unsure what to do. The moment I opened my mouth, I realized my voice was trembling violently. "Shen Lingxi, what should I do now?" Shen Lingxi seized the opportunity to grab his backpack then, still running, pulled out a weapon and said, "Pick up the jade pieces on the ground, put them in your mouth, then run into her parents' room and hide there, waiting for me." Put them in my mouth. I had goosebumps all over my body. This jade, wasn't it after her brother died? "No time." He turned to fight back against May, saying urgently, Sucking on that jade can mask your body odor, ensuring May's brother won't be able to find you for a short time. If you don't want to die, do as I say. Although I felt intensely nauseous, to save my life, I could only comply. While Shen Lingxi cornered Mei, I quickly picked up the jade pieces from the ground, casually wiped the dust off them with my clothes, then put them in my mouth, and immediately scurried into Mei's parents' room. The moment I entered the room, I was startled and horrified. The entire room was set up like a funeral hall. In the front, there was an altar with 2 ancestral tablets and 3 smoldering gray-white incense sticks. I couldn't resist stepping closer to get a better look, only to be shocked to realize that one of the tablets bore my name asterisk. Suddenly, a sound echoed in the room. I stood, my eyes darting around, and finally chose to hide under the altar. The space beneath the altar was cramped and narrow. The scent of fallen incense ash permeated through the gaps in the tablecloth, assaulting my nose. I held my breath, trying not to sneeze at such a moment. Time stretched on for what felt like an eternity. I held my breath, listening, but outside was utterly silent. Apart from my own breathing, I heard nothing else. The entire world fell into a strange quiet. I subtly glanced at my watch, 12:00. Didn't this mean it was past midnight and their sacrificial ritual had failed? I was safe. I sighed in relief, quietly poking my head out from under the tablecloth. Suddenly, a blood-smeared face appeared before my eyes. He wore a black robe with yellow floral trim, making me recognize him instantly as Mei's older brother, Choi Ieyasu. He stared at me with eyes completely devoid of whites, blood streaming down his cheeks, dripping onto the ground with a rhythmic drip drip drip, quickly forming a small pool of blood, emitting a strong, putrid smell. The candlelight in the room flickered gently, casting a shadow on the wall like a giant monster poised to swallow me whole. In the darkness, he curled his lips into a smile. "I found you." I screamed, instinctively throwing the pile of incense ash at him, then frantically scurried out from under the table. However, after crawling out, I saw Mei's parents. They were standing behind her brother. Mei's mother smiled at me, a gentle expression on her face, but then she turned to her son and said, "My good son, don't be impatient. Your parents will immediately bring your beautiful wife to you." This bizarre scene stimulated my nerves. I dared not stay there any longer and immediately turned to flee. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Shen Lingxi standing outside. Seeing only him, I sighed in relief, quickly grabbing his collar and saying, "Shen Lingxi, what exactly is going on? Didn't you say that hiding here, Mei's brother wouldn't find me?" Yet, Shen Lingxi said nothing. He looked at me coldly. Immediately after, Mei's father spoke, "Master Shen, we are truly grateful to you. Without you, my son would not have found such a beautiful wife." "What?" I looked at Shen Lingxi with incredulous eyes, then turned to Mei's parents. It turned out they were all in on it together. Wolves in front, tigers behind, I couldn't escape. Mei's parents sneered and stepped towards me. 1 step, 2 steps, I grabbed a nearby chair as a weapon, watching them warily, secretly calculating how I could possibly escape. "Meng Yao, give up. This is your destiny." I whipped my head around and spat fiercely in his direction. "I'm not interested in your nonsense. If I believed in fate, I would have died 800 years ago. There'd be no turn for you." Shen Lingxi's face darkened, and he stepped into the room. He put his thumb and forefinger to his mouth and whistled. Immediately after, a bloodied figure appeared at the doorway. Her tattered clothes revealed numerous lash marks. If not for her face, which was grudgingly still intact, I almost wouldn't have recognized her as Mei. "Mei, didn't you always want your brother to have a proper burial? Then kill Meng Yao so she can keep your brother company down there." Shen Lingxi's voice was full of enchantment. Mei's stiff body moved towards me. I burst into tears, shaking my head repeatedly, unable to believe my best friend would truly kill me. Even as a corpse, she remembered I was afraid of the dark. How could she possibly lay a hand on me? Mei stepped towards me without hesitation. I stood frozen, watching her. At this moment, I was finally completely desperate. Shen Lingxi was right. She had called me here truly to kill me, then to be buried with her brother. The feeling of utter despair enveloped me. I slowly closed my eyes, waiting for death to come. Mei had reached me. She bent down, her 2 hands grabbing me violently, and she said something. It seemed like, "I'm sorry," but her pale hands didn't squeeze me tightly. While everyone's eyes were fixed on me, she suddenly shifted direction and lunged at her parents. A tragic scream pierced the air. Mei's mother's arm had been bitten off by her. Shen Lingxi stepped forward to stop Mei. I took this opportunity to flee outside. Behind me, May's wails, hoarse and thick, along with her parents' desperate screams, sent chills down my spine. But when I ran to the courtyard gate, I discovered the main gate had been locked at some point. The heavy padlock, larger than my fist, sat there prominently. There was no way to open it without a key. I looked up at the wall, which wasn't too high, gritted my teeth, and used my hands and feet to climb onto the gaps in the wall. It was a struggle to get up. As I looked down, I saw a pale face standing below, looking up at me, toes pressed into the ground. In the pitch-black night, the scene was utterly eerie and chilling. "Where do you think you're going? You should stay here, stay here." He stood motionless, staring at me, his voice sounding as if it was forced out from deep within his throat, utterly grotesque. I was on the verge of tears. Ambushed in front, pursued from behind, I was trapped, unable to go up or down from the top of the wall. A sudden crash echoed, and the room door slammed to the ground. I heard the sound and turned to look, discovering May and Shen Lingxi fighting their way out of the room. From the current situation, it seemed Shen Lingxi was not May's match. He was only defending, procrastinating without attacking, as if waiting for something. A thought flashed in my mind. I suddenly realized he was stalling for time. Perhaps the actual time of the sacrificial ceremony wasn't midnight, but some other moment. I looked at my watch. It was 1:40 a.m. But when would the real ritual begin? I was so preoccupied with racking my brains that I didn't notice May's brother had climbed onto the wall from the outside. Suddenly, my wrist felt a burning pain. I instinctively flung my arm out, turned my head, and May's brother was clutching his arm, yelling in pain as he fell off the wall. A pungent, sour smell wafted, enveloping the entire space. I raised my wrist to look, realizing it was the bracelet May had forced me to wear that afternoon. Remembering Shen Lingxi's earlier words to me, I finally understood. May's bracelet truly could protect me. Shen Lingxi wanted me to destroy this protective bracelet so he could easily lay hands on me. I looked left and right, gritted my teeth, and jumped down from the wall, grabbing a wooden plank from the corner and charging towards Shen Lingxi. I won a bet once, betting that May would never harm me. I raised the wooden plank, but suddenly Shen Lingxi swapped places with May. Those long, mottled hands appeared before me again, savagely clutching my face. Although she tried her best to control herself, her sharp fingernails still raked 2 lines across my face, and I, in turn, struck her shoulder hard with the wooden plank in my hand. I raised my hand to wipe the wound on my face. The dust contacting the injury made it sting, so painful that I grimaced. May seemed to want to touch me but dared not. She roared furiously and lunged at Shen Lingxi once more. But this time he showed no intention of dodging. Instead, he flicked his sleeve, and a rusty bronze sword suddenly fell from within. He spun the sword in his hand like drawing a flower, then swiftly plunged it straight into May. "Careful!" I screamed in horror, taking a step forward, wanting to pull May back, but I missed, only able to watch as the sword pierced her chest. Hiss! The moment the sword entered her body, the air was suddenly thick with the stench of burning flesh. May's body stiffened. She turned to look at me, her face showing an unwilling expression, then collapsed to the ground. Under the faint moonlight, I had nowhere left to escape. Shen Lingxi stood before me and said, "Meng Yao, don't resist anymore, you can't escape." I retreated 2 steps, raising the jade pendant in my hand. "Without the jade pendant, you won't be able to perform the sacrifice, right?" With that, I mustered all my strength in my arm and threw the jade hard into the courtyard. Shen Lingxi didn't even bother to look at the jade. He covered his face and laughed, saying, "Meng Yao, how can you be so foolish? If this jade truly worked, do you think I would have given it to you? What about borrowing a body to return to life? That was just a trick I used to deceive those 2 old fools. That Choi Yazu died 4 years ago. He's probably already reincarnated. How could he still have a chance to come back to life? If that's the case, then who was the ghost in the funeral hall and on the wall just now?" As if he had guessed the doubts in my mind, Shen Lingxi sneered, "Just some unknown wandering ghosts and wild spirits. I gave them a little incense offering, and they willingly followed my command, saving me a lot of trouble." But I still couldn't understand how Shen Lingxi had deceived May's parents into willingly killing their own daughter. However, it seemed he wasn't planning to explain that to me. He said again, "Your best friend May possesses a rare 100-year yin bone. If I can use it, I will become the most powerful sorcerer in this world." "Then why did you want to kill her just now?" Shen Lingxi looked at me with a sinister smile. "Of course, because I found someone better." "Wait a minute, there's still one thing I don't understand. If you simply wanted to kill me, why go to all the trouble of tricking me here?" He stopped, his expression fierce, looking at my best friend lying on the ground. If it weren't for her being so nosy, why would I have to personally make this trip? Then he turned to me and said, "But it's okay. Now all the obstacles have been dealt with. Now I can safely refine you." I suddenly noticed May's fingers seemed to be moving, then her arm, her body. She endured the searing pain, pulled the bronze sword from her chest, and staggered towards Shen Lingxi. To create an opportunity for Mei, I racked my brain trying to stall for time, but he was still guarding against me. Shen Lingxi turned, his face grim, and pulled out several talismans from who knows where, sticking them onto Mei's forehead. A string of difficult-to-pronounce incantations echoed in my ears. Mei screamed tragically, her face contorted in extreme pain. But she still tried her best to get closer to Shen Lingxi, hugging his waist tightly, her eyeless gaze fixed on me with regret. "Meng Yao, run, get out of here." Shen Lingxi gritted his teeth, sticking one talisman after another onto Mei's body. As he chanted, blue veins bulged fiercely on his face. Although I didn't know what evil energy was, I could see that as time passed, the black mist around Mei grew fainter. She wouldn't be able to bear it much longer. Shen Lingxi stomped his foot on the ground and shouted an order. Mei's body slowly began to emit black smoke, and the arm embracing Shen Lingxi started to disappear. After being freed from Mei, Shen Lingxi menacingly strode towards me. When he was just one step away, a figure suddenly appeared behind Mei. The next second, a chill ran down my spine, making me shiver. Then, I couldn't control my hands and feet anymore. My disobedient hands simply took off the bracelet on my wrist, and from within it I retrieved a bright yellow talisman. Before Shen Lingxi could react, I stuffed the talisman into his mouth. "What am I doing?" I opened my eyes wide in astonishment, watching the talisman stuffed into Shen Lingxi's mouth instantly transform into a raging fire. The flames spread rapidly, immediately engulfing him. The fire was clearly raging in front of me, yet it didn't spread to me even a little. In the fiery glow, Shen Lingxi shrieked tragically, "Are you insane? Doing this will scatter your souls and spirits." At this moment, I shivered again. Warmth returned to my hands and feet, and my body recovered its normal state, except that in front of me there were now two more shadows, Mei and her brother. They held hands, looked at me, and smiled warmly. Then, one after the other, they embraced Shen Lingxi, who was engulfed in the sea of flames, dragging him down into the endless darkness beneath the earth. Bit by bit, until they completely disappeared, I stood frozen in place, tears streaming down uncontrollably. In my mind, I kept replaying the moment my body returned to normal, a voice echoing in my ear. "Meng Yao, I told you I will always protect you. Live well, live for me too." It was Mei's voice. Just like 7 years ago, the crow of a rooster echoed, waking the slumbering sun, and light streamed into the courtyard, which had been shrouded in darkness. I sat in front of the house, looking at the mess before me, thoughts swirling in my head, slowly revealing the entire truth. From the very beginning, Mei had always protected me. From the moment I saw Shen Lingxi, she continuously gave me hints. It was just that at that time, I kept thinking she wanted to harm me. I had misinterpreted all those hints as a conspiracy. I remembered Shen Lingxi's words, "Scatter your souls and spirits." That meant everything was truly gone. My mind was now filled with memories of the time I spent with Mei. Since starting university, I had always protected her. But I didn't know when I had become the one she protected. When I didn't want to go to class in the morning, someone would always help me check attendance. On weekends, when I woke up, breakfast would always be laid out on the table. Even during final exams, I never had to worry because I would always receive a very detailed study outline. Every moment of failure and difficulty in life, she was by my side, helping me overcome them. We helped each other become better people. She never broke a promise, and in the final moments of her life, she still protected me. As dawn broke, a neighbor noticed something strange at Mei's house and called the police. The bodies of Mei's parents were taken to the police station, and I followed to give my statement. Due to the special nature of the case, it was ultimately sealed in a special file. By the time I left the police station, it was already midday, but when the wind blew, I still felt a chill. I had survived a major ordeal. I let out a long breath, hailed a taxi to the university, and walked along the old path over and over again, until night fell and my legs had no strength left. After everything was over, I found a place with good feng shui and erected a tomb for Mei and her brother. I also buried the bracelet Mei had braided underneath. My eyes red, I knelt and kowtowed 3 times. If it weren't for their desperate rescue, perhaps today, there would be one more person, me, lying in this place.